These numbers mean nothing. When comparing guns in Arena Breakout, do not look at their stats, even though the menu is positioned in such a way that you're expected to be looking at them as a comparison. They mean nothing. Riddle me this: why does an AKM with 63 vertical recoil versus an ACE with 63 vertical recoil look like this? No, don't come at me with theories about the weapon stability stat, because it's actually higher on the AKM. And for this test I used the purple T45 ammo because it doesn't have a vertical recoil penalty. So let's take another closer look with single fire mode. So what's going on? Well, a lot of you may know, or at least assume this, but every gun in this game has its own behavior profile hard-coded into it, meaning that each gun has invisible stats for recoil, ergonomics, hipfire stability, etc. Does this mean that you shouldn't buy attachments? No. But these numbers here represent how the specific weapon has been upgraded. They act as multipliers to their own hidden stats, which we cannot see. So you can use these stats to compare one build of a certain weapon to another build of the same weapon. Here's a terrible recoil AK-74N versus a decked out AK-74N that cost me more than 500 grand. The difference in control is undeniable. The investment is questionable. Okay, so what do we invest in? Every automatic weapon in this game, save for one, we'll get back to it, has one similarity in vertical recoil. They kick up for a while, then they relax and remain steady. So all you need to do is pull down for the initial burst and then keep spraying. Modding for vertical recoil does not reduce the time of that initial burst. It reduces its strength, so you need to pull down less, but it doesn't change too much. And you can easily learn to control most stock guns. Here I made this fully decked out M4 with minimum vertical recoil, and I crafted a specific script that will pull down on my mouse the exact range to fully negate the vertical recoil. Now I'm going to use that same script with a much cheaper build that has 12 less vertical recoil. This is the difference between them. You need to pull down this much extra to get back on target. In the meantime, that max specs M4 costs 650k Cohen. The budget build? 200k. So you can control this manually. What you cannot control is horizontal recoil, because that is truly random, save for that one gun I mentioned before. The gun in question is the AMB, and for some reason, somehow, this gun has a permanent vertical climb. Not only that, but its recoil pattern always looks the same. It goes up a bit, then goes right for a while, and then goes left for eternity. That was just a tangent because it's curious. But what am I getting at? When you're modding your automatic weapon, I suggest you always try to max out horizontal recoil. Simple reason. Most attachments with high horizontal control already give you ample vertical control anyway. But you need to focus on taming the chaos instead of compensating for something that can be fixed with muscle memory. Secondly, stop wasting 90k on tilt grips. Unless you want to be a show-off. These 2 extra points of recoil control are not worth 70k extra. I doubt you can even feel them. Okay, how much should you invest in recoil? Let's build an M4. One default, which has 55 horizontal recoil, one with 65 horizontal recoil, and one with 75 horizontal recoil. And there they are. I know, right, the difference is underwhelming, but I did feel like I was much more in control with the 75 version. Here is a direct comparison between the stock 55 versus the 75 horizontal build. And now let's try to absolutely max out the horizontal stat. Best I could do on the M4 was 88 max. Let's compare that to the stock 55 build. You know what? It feels better, it looks better. This could definitely be the thing that wins or loses a gunfight. But is it worth spending the money on an overpriced grip and the red AR tube? Let's cheap out a bit. I'll replace the front grip with one that only costs 20k. I'll replace the red tube for a regular black tube. And I will only spend 2k on a buttstock. Here are the weapon stats. These have 200k difference between them in price. Yeah, essentially I am not spending 200k for that difference. And you can save even more money on a red dot. If you watch my ergonomics video, you will learn that the ergonomics penalties that cheaper red dots give you are basically negligible, if at all there. So, just for fun, let's try the AKM. It is notoriously bad for modding. Because, first, its hidden stats are horrible. Secondly, you don't affect them very much with mods. Here's a 90k almost stock AKM versus a 450k AKM. And you know what? It is more controllable. I can consistently put the target down faster with the more expensive AKM, but if I'm spending 450k on a gun, it's not gonna beat the AKM. That's just memeing at this point. Here's a 200k M4 that absolutely smokes it. I will leave the build code in the description. Ultimately, I do love playing scavenger in this game, where I find guns and find mods and make guns for free, essentially. But the best strategy is to use those gun platforms that are good from the start, then add minor upgrades to them, like the HK, the M4, the AUG, the FN2000 and the U191, plus maybe the T1, plus a couple of others. Basically what you're looking for is high RPM in the stats, vertical recoil that feels controllable to you, and horizontal recoil that does not feel like chaos. Granted, some of the guns listed don't even have attachments available for them, but are overpowered from the get-go, so no modding. And the same goes for SMGs. The MPX starts off really good and can be giga decked out. The MP5 is a fine budget SMG. The P90 is insane, even if you don't mod it. One final thing before we move to carbines. There's a myth going around the community that lasers will improve your hipfire recoil even if the laser is not on. This was either true in earlier seasons, or it stems from the fact that lasers don't do much on assault rifles. Check me out being stumped while testing the M4 here. The difference is pretty minor, but if you put a laser on an SMG, the difference between it being off and on is pretty huge. To further prove this, I tested an MPX with a laser, but the laser is off, and an MPX with absolutely no laser on it. No difference there. Okay, so how do you mod an M110? Do you go for vertical, horizontal recoil, or prioritize ergonomics? Honestly, for the M110 in particular, this gun has such high ergo and such low recoil as its hidden stats that you can run it vanilla. However, I made a build that tries to minimize recoil as much as possible and a build that tries to max out ergo. Let's compare them. Aim down sight speed, the ergo build is about 5 frames faster than the recoil build. For recoil control, the ergo build does kick a little bit higher, but they both recover back on target at about the same time. Still, if this were to change, or if they add more useful attachments for the other marksman rifles, I would rather prioritize recoil. Because with a marksman, especially if the red ammo changes come through in Season 5, you need to be able to land that second shot as fast as possible. Ergo is basically boosted by the attachments as a byproduct, so whatever.